Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Awaken to Your Soul Path. I'm your host, Barbara, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Jessica Verrill. And our topic for today is going to be the new paradigm of leaderships. Leadership, actually. I was already reading the next word, which is energetics, identity, and soul purpose. And I've been looking forward to this talk because I think we need a new form of leadership. So thank you so much for being here today, Jessica, and coming to talk to me about this.
Oh, thank you for having me, Barbara. I'm very excited to be here today.
Me too. And so what I'm seeing is that the old way of leading, it's no longer working. And hard leadership or where you say, this is what I want and you're going to do it type of leadership, all of those older forms of leadership, they're no longer working. And we need to move towards a new direction where there's more room for the feminine, less room for the masculine, or maybe more just imbalance. Because we need both. We need the masculine and the feminine, but it's been very masculine up until now.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. It has been so masculine, and we are programmed to be in such a world, even as we're business owners. Like, so many people I know who are entrepreneurs want to do it for the freedom, or they want to do it for the potential or the impact. And then what they find themselves into is they're just get into this like other culture of like the hustle, the grind, the push, and pushing their creativity away, pushing their play away, and just, being a slave to their own kind of golden handcuffs in a way. And so we've traded one system for another.
Mhm.
Um, Whether, you're working for somebody else or you're doing it on your own. And it's so engulfed in our society, this hustle culture, that and it's not serving anybody. It's not serving anybody. I see so many people who are just burnt out, exhausted. They don't really love what they're doing anymore. They don't feel inspired because they've lost the sense of the purpose. They've lost that spark that got them started on this path. And it's time to reawaken that.
Yes, and some people never had that purpose. What I'm also seeing, and so what you're saying is really true. People who felt the soul purpose or felt the spark, felt the joy, started whatever it is, their own business or a certain job, and then it sort of fizzled out. But
Mhm.
I also see a really big group of people who are just doing what other people expect them to do. Find a good job, have a good education, find a good job, get married, and then are stuck in their job and coming to the conclusion, this is really not lighting me up on the inside. It's not fulfilling me. They are either already in a burnout or they're heading towards a burnout, on the edge of a burnout, and they wonder why.
Yes, yes. It is so true. And we can do it for so long, right? And then either there's going to be the burnout, the illness, the complete like soul awakening or the breakdown or the just looking at everything and like, what is this life? Because this isn't what I wanted and this isn't what I expected it to be. And so I see a lot of people who are at this place where they're just they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do with it. They just know like what we've been doing or what I've been doing, and individually and collectively is just not working anymore.
Exactly. Yes. And how you got to that point is less important than what are you going to do from this point forward.
Mhm. 100%. 100%. Because it really, in that time, while it's such a challenging, when you have this awareness, and usually it's been creeping up on you, right? It's not like
Mhm.
someone like flicks a light bulb and you're just like, oh, what is this? It's
No.
you just get to this point of discomfort where you're like, this I just can't do it anymore. Like, this is not serving me, it's not feeding me. I don't feel good. My relationships don't feel good. Nothing feels balanced. And that can be a really, really hard place to be, but it's
Yes.
also a really beautiful place to be, right?
Mm,
Because it's like you have this energy, you have this awareness where now you can look and say, okay, so what would feel good? What would be some steps that I could take? What would look like fulfillment for me? What would look like something that was inspiring and creative and filled all of these things? And how can I start moving towards that? So it's the
mhm.
potential, when you have this awareness of like, okay, this isn't it. So now I can take this energy and begin to envision or create something that will be more aligned to me.
Yes. I often compare it either to the death of the phoenix or maybe the caterpillar turning in the butterfly. It doesn't really matter, but the phoenix keeps dying over and over again, and then it becomes this beautiful phoenix bird, and it flies, and then it turns to ashes. And this is not a one-time deal. No, this is an over and over time deal with the phoenix. And with the butterfly, of course, it's only once. But it kind of depends on what situation you are in. If you're transforming for the first time, or if you have already transformed, maybe you've had a dark night of the soul, multiple dark nights of the soul. It doesn't mean that you will never have one again, and it also doesn't mean that when you felt this soul purpose calling you, and you, for instance, started your business, and you felt very aligned with your business, and it inspired you for a long time, and now you've reached the point where you think, oh, another client today. Or social media posts, blah. Or what I was doing, what used to feed my soul is no longer feeding me anymore. And what I see is a lot of people have shame around this, and a lot of confusion because they thought, well, but I did the work and I got very clear. And for a long time, this felt really right. And what is wrong with me? What is happening right now? Why do I feel this way? Am I doing something wrong?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And what I have seen is the higher the level of success that person has achieved, the harder it is for them and the more of those voices that come up like I should be really happy. Look at everything I've created on paper. Everything looks wonderful. Like, look, I've checked all these boxes off and I've created this beautiful company or whatever for all intents and purposes, but there's a hollowness or there's an overworking or there's the overachieving and that you know not that it's ever easy, but I see that the more like that something has already been built, the more challenging it can be at times to be like, oh, okay, I just built this like beautiful castle. And
Mhm.
now I've realized that I actually don't want to live in a stone castle. And
Yeah.
so it's can feel really daunting wherever you're at. But I know that once you've already invested so much and have built something that for all intents and purposes should be the thing,
Mhm.
um, there can be so much more that comes up with that as well.
Yes, yes, of course. And what I think that is happening is our path, our future is so fluid, so elastic that there is no one path. And I think that for a while we are called in a certain direction, and then just something happens, something energetic, maybe in the world, maybe with you, maybe a combination of things, and the thing that was once aligned is no longer aligned. And it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. It means that your path shifted and that
Mhm.
it's time for something else. And I've also seen that it also kind of depends. I work a lot with human design and the gene keys, that it also is connected to the type of profile and energy type that you have. And so a manifesting generator, for instance, is someone who often goes through periods like this where they shift and where what was once aligned no longer aligns. While a lunar person, it takes a lot longer and they shift a lot less. So there are multiple things at play what is going on and why you're feeling like this.
It's so, so true. And, from that perspective too, like I'm a projector in human design. And so, we live in a very generator centric world. It's like you get up, you hustle, you do the things, you put your nose down, and I know a lot of projectors. I don't know if we're just magnetized to each other, but I know a lot of projectors who somewhere along the last few years have been like, I can't, I'm not designed for this. And even if they don't know human design,
Mm,
taking a step back and looking at that as well. But yeah, I mean there are so many things to play between the human design and then as you said, like sometimes it doesn't mean that what we've done already is wrong. We often need to build those lessons or those foundations or those experiences so then we can take them and move into this next thing. And without that, we maybe would have struggled more or we wouldn't have had the experiences that we were. So it's in a very outcome driven world and society
mhm.
that can be really hard and having
Yeah.
that perspective shift of, well, my outcome is my experience, like my now is really what is important, what I'm learning, the processes that I'm going through, who I'm becoming, who I'm cultivating. And that's really what the soul asks for. That's really what the soul wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it can be very difficult in our society where we value what we can see, what is materialistic. The big house, the fancy car, the fancy clothes, the jewelry. If you have a lot of that, then you are successful. And that is not important to soul. Soul values the experiences that you have. And again, your profile lines play a big part in this. So if you are a sixth line or a fifth line or a third line, it's a lot about experiences and things that you need to learn in order to get there. So I like to see them as stepping stones. Everything that I've ever done in my life are stepping stones. And if I'm being honest, I still use the things I learned in those stepping stones in every next stepping stone. So I never see it as a failure or lost time. I see it as honing my skills or being able to put myself in other people's shoes because I've tried so many different things and are knowledgeable about so many different things, which really helps me in fulfilling my mission.
Mhm. It's so, so true. It's so true. And it's, sometimes those things we just take for granted or we don't realize the importance of, but those are really our own like special spices, those are really what make us so unique and so able to bring that forth in different ways, whatever that looks like. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I am assuming that you also went through a phase like this.
Yes, just one. Kidding. Yes. I actually, it's funny because I have a friend who she texted me yesterday and she's like, just randomly, she's like, you should be on Survivor. And I was like, what? It was very random. And she's like, I was just watching it and thinking like Jess would be great on this. And I was like, I feel like I've been on like Survivor Earth School Edition for
Mhm.
most of my life.
Yes,
So
I
my,
recognize it.
my soul was ambitious coming into this life. We had big things to do, and often when we have the big things to do, we need those catalysts that help like wake us up or activate us or redirect us or put us into those new things. And as a human, those things hurt and they're
Yes,
hard
tremendously.
and it can be so incredibly painful. And as a soul, it's like, yeah. Like, this is, look at all that we're doing. And I find that when I can shift my perspective or when I can look at the bigger picture, which is fairly often because I am a projector,
Mhm.
I am looking at those things. But when I can shift my perspective of like, it's so easy to get into like all of this stuff has happened to me and have almost like this tinge of a victim mindset and mentality and like just like be engulfed by the pain. And when I can shift it to like, I'm okay. This is, yes, that was hard. We're not bypassing, we're not gaslighting ourselves. We're not saying, oh no, everything's fine, it's great. It's not the
Mhm.
toxic positivity. It's like, yeah, that was really hard. And also, I got this.
Mhm.
Also, I'm not a victim because when you shift that energy, and this is something, even you and I have spoken, and the past 8, 9 months have been really hard for me. And the past, like, probably like 3 years have been really hard as well. It's just been like a lot of
Mhm.
loss, illness, just a
Yeah.
lot going on. And as I'm like playing with this more and more, it's really easy to sometimes be like, oh, well, no wonder I feel like this. Because look, look at that, and that.
Mhm.
And validation can be helpful, but it's such a line of like getting stuck into that
Mhm.
or being like, yeah, that was hard. And like, good job. That doesn't define me anymore.
Yes.
That I don't have to allow that to continue to stay with me. And it's not always easy.
Oh,
It's
definitely not.
no, no. This is like, I think like master level, energetics mindset, like is these small things, but when you're able to shift it even just a little bit, it's like, oh, okay. Instead of feeling myself like bracing for impact again, because that's what happens after you've been like sucker punched,
Mhm.
to find
Yeah.
yourself like, okay, what's gonna come next? It's almost this like, I can't control it. I can't
Yes.
control it. And not in a way that like I can't control it, so what was me, but like I can't control it. So I'm just gonna like hang on and enjoy the ride like as best as I can.
Yes, and I think that that is the biggest lesson that I had to learn. Is there a 6 or a 3 line in your profile by chance?
I'm a 1-3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. I am a 6'3", so I was a double three for the first 30 years of my life. So that was really intense, and so I love listening to Abraham, for instance, and Abraham often talks about that life is like a river, and that we are trying to row the boat upstream.
Yes.
We're trying to control everything and trying to steer ourselves towards something, but that never works. So we need to learn to allow the stream to take the boat downstream,
Mhm.
and then we cannot steer it in the stream. We can try to avoid some rocks, maybe, but some rocks we cannot avoid. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's a a rapid, a wild water river, and sometimes it's a slow-going river, and it's all of those things. And the better we are able to just surrender to that, the easier it gets to navigate, and it feels sort of counterintuitive.
Mhm. Mhm. It absolutely is. And this has been a lesson for me, as well. And um it's that vision of the river and the flow, and you know not surrendering or flowing to a point of passivity. It's not like, oh, whatever, it's gonna, but also kind of like, oh, um I'm not controlling this boat. The
Mhm.
river is honestly moving me forth, and can I Can I control my experience of it? Absolutely. Can I help direct it a little bit? Sure.
Hmm.
But it's not like a like I'm not going this way. I'm gonna crank it. And
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, whatever's gonna happen is gonna it's a balance. It's working
Yeah.
with it. And maybe you see the rapids are coming up and you adjust your positioning, or like,
You
okay,
brace yourself for impact.
yeah. Or just kind of like, okay, this is how we're going to prepare and this is how we're going to support ourselves in this moment. And yeah, it is such an important concept. And I personally I have this whenever I hear the word surrender, and it's used a lot, and it facilitates such an important message at its core, but there's also this connotation, like I'm very big on words and the energy behind it and all of that. There's also this very big connotation for me when I hear surrender. It's almost like surrender, like you're you know what I mean? Like it almost feels like it's against your will. So if
Yeah.
anybody else is listening and they feel that a little bit too, of like, you just got to surrender. I like, I switch it for me to flow because that
Hmm.
just feels so much gentler. And
Yes, going with the flow instead of surrendering.
yes, because it's like, okay, I can flow. And that actually sounds a little bit enjoyable.
Hmm.
Whereas if it's like surrender, it feels like it's against my will.
Yes, it feels like it's been forced onto you.
Yeah, yes. Like the universal whatever is coming and they're like, this is what you're doing, you
But
know?
let's be honest, there have been moments in my life, certainly, where I have been forced into surrendering,
Oh,
where
for
I tried to fight my way out of it for such a long time, for so deep, until there was just nothing left to do but surrender. I mean, you were forced into the surrendering.
yes, yes, and 100%. And um that to me at least is the experience of trying to fight the flow, trying to
Yeah.
fight against the rapids, it's like, all right, well, you're going to fight against this. It's going to make it harder. And then you're going to end up swirling around 82 times, and maybe your boat's going to like capsize. And then, like, when you get back into it, you're going to be like cold and wet and miserable, and all your stuff has gone overboard.
Yes.
And yeah,
And if
it's,
you're really unlucky, then you hit your head on a rock underneath the surface.
yeah, yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And what I see, especially with people who have a big mission here on this planet, is that especially the first time this sort of needs to happen, before things get better, before they start to ride the flow and work with the flow, they sort of need to be forced into this place of surrender.
Mhm.
Otherwise, nothing changes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, depending on your personality, for sure. Your personality, your conditioning and who you are. But often it is, we tend to be stubborn humans, and we're wanting to be like, no, wait, I'm not ready to go down the river yet. I can control this. And it's like, not really.
But
Um,
sometimes we also sort of fool ourselves. Because I remember I thought, okay, I'm surrendering, right? And I thought I was going with the flow. And I still wasn't, but I wasn't conscious of that. I upgraded my boat to a bigger boat. I hired people to help me row, but I was still rowing upstream, even though I thought I was going downstream with the boat.
hmm hmm Yeah. Yeah. Yes, there are so many nuances. So
Yes.
many nuances to it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say to someone who's trying to navigate a particularly challenging set of rapids?
Well, you know, some people, the image that I just keep getting is, when I was younger, I haven't been for many, many years, but one of like the things that I absolutely loved doing was going whitewater rafting.
Hmm.
And it's, you know, that's such an amazing experience if we allow it to be. And so perception really is so much. You think about those two contexts of like somebody who's like paying, waking up early, driving all this way, like to have this experience of the rapids and somebody else being like, oh no, like these rapids are awful. And so if we can shift it a little bit, even just a little bit, sometimes the tiniest shifts make such a difference.
Hmm.
Um, Perception is so important, and as well as, obviously taking care of our nervous system and our bodies and remembering, and this is a really, 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 really like big one, um, is remembering that while we're ripping through the currents and maybe like half of our supplies have fallen out and we've gone overboard twice and all of this stuff, we can still find those moments where we're like, oh, this is kind of fun. And having that playfulness in there, because that is truly what's going to help bring us to those experiences that are going to create our lives in the way that feel richer and more fulfilling and vibrant and like we've woken up. Because so many people I know and work with and have spoken to, and I've been here myself, where it feels like you're alive and you're going through the motions, but you're not really living. That vitality, that
Yeah.
spark is gone.
Yes.
And so how do we cultivate those in even like little components? How do we bring those things back so that our experience of what we're doing is just that much better?
Hmm. That's an excellent question, and I love also that you bring up the creativity and the childlike play, because we used to be really good at this, and then
Mhm.
we lost it. And
Mhm.
usually that happens when we start going to school. And for some reason, then seriousness takes over. And we either think we cannot make a living with the things that we like to do creatively, photography, painting, music, arts, those things. We often think that that doesn't pay the bills. And then
Mhm.
we become the responsible adult, and when we get a responsible job that pays the bills. That's one part I see, and the other part is also where we lose just the being able to have fun no matter what is happening. And I had a client who reminded me of that recently. That was really awesome. As he started working with me, and I think in our second session already, she came up to me and we were doing outside coaching in the woods, and she said, oh, I have something that I really want to share with you, because you're going to be the only one that gets this. I said, oh, I cannot wait, this must be good. And she said, do you know what I did last weekend? I said, I have no clue. Tell me. And she said, we went into the woods and I kicked every leaf I could find. I was like a little kid, and I just kept kicking all the leaves and they went everywhere. And it was amazing. And I thought, this is so cool, because we don't do this enough as adults. Just letting go, playful, fun, silly things just for the fun of it.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. I love that. It's so true. It's like there's magic and there's energy and there's like this curiosity that we used to have, for that, because the magic and the energy are all around us.
Yeah.
And it's again going back to the river and the whitewater rafting. Like, it's your perception. Like, either it's going to be really fun or you're going to feel like you're going through hell.
Mhm.
And that is the playfulness and the curiosity and the component to shift that perception and make it fun. And while it doesn't come as naturally for us anymore, we need to look for ways to cultivate that and how to bring it in. And, um, I love that visual of like kicking up the leaves, because I could see that and I could feel that. And, you know, it's, it's sometimes it's things like that, and in order to do this, we have to be present, right?
Mm.
That's such a big thing that I work with people on as well, is like being present. Because if you're walking through the leaves in the woods and you're thinking about, okay, I got this and this and this, and then this is stressing me out, and like if your mind is just chattering, or if you're feeling yourself disconnected, then it doesn't matter what there could be a unicorn that would step out in front of your path and you'd be like, whatever, I need to go back to like this.
Or you wouldn't see it, or you think, move, you're blocking me.
Yeah, right. I got things to do. You're
Yeah,
slowing me
places
down.
to be. Yeah.
So it's really about being in what we're doing as much as we can, and then connecting to those things that are available to us all of the time. Um, and sometimes it's going outside of our comfort zone. I just finished I finished my daughter and I took dance classes. I've never taken a dance class in my life before. We took dance classes to learn how to do the Thriller dance, Michael Jackson's Thriller,
Mhm.
and we performed in like the downtown of I live in Maine, so in Portland, where they have this event every year. This is like the 13th year that the director's doing it. And we dressed up as zombies, learned this dance, which was very hard. It was hard for me. We dressed up as zombies. When you're like, in character, you do the whole thing in front of, it was probably like 2,000 people. It was so fun. It was so fun. And that's not something that I would have normally looked at and been like, oh, dancing, because I'm not a dancer, dancing in front of all these people that I don't know. I wasn't sure how it was going to be, but I tried it and I showed up and I was open and I found that it was like the most fun I've had in a really long time.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. And so it's like sometimes following those little nudges of like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I like that. Like, what would that feel like? And having that bit of curiosity leave you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, because a lot of time I think we're already stuck here, right? I see that with a lot of clients. They said yes, but the yes, but I hear yes, but often, and I say, well, you make a suggestion, yes, but, or
Mhm.
you say we'll try it, yes, but, or no, but, and it's the curiosity, the openness, the I have no clue if I'm going to like this, but yeah, let's just try it and see where it goes. And then you try it, and then you come to the conclusion that you think, oh, this is awesome. Or you try it and you think, well, okay, I tried it, but we're never trying this again, which is also fine.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And anything you're saying behind but is just an excuse. You're you're limiting yourself. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Oh, I've been loving our talk, Jessica, and I'm so happy that we're talking about this because I think this is so relevant at the moment. And we talked about it before we started recording already that so many people are going through something at the moment, something heavy, something shifting, something transformative, which can feel like all of these things. And the only thing that is really certain in this world is change. Change is the only thing that we can always count on. Things will change. Things never stay the same. Change is the thing that we can count on. And we can either think, oh God, no, I don't want anything to change. And we try to control everything and hold on to everything and keep it the same, which never works because it always changes. Or we can think, oh, interesting. No clue where we're going, but I'm open to seeing where we end up, which
Hmm.
makes it so much easier. So, and that is in line with the keeping the open mind and just trying things, especially things that you've never done before. I talked to my friend on the weekend, and she said, I went into a roller coaster. I thought, oh, I don't like roller coasters and I'm going to be scared as hell. But she was with her granddaughter, and her granddaughter really wanted to go into the roller coaster. And eventually she thought, okay, for you. And then she found out it was actually really nice. I enjoyed it.
You never know. You never know.
No,
You know.
exactly.
Yeah.
No. I
And
loved it. So, if you are listening and watching to us talk here, we are very happy that you're here. Let's start with that. And we would love to hear from you as well. Maybe you have an insight that you got out of our talk, or maybe you have a question, or maybe you have an experience of yourself that you would love to share. And we would love to hear from you. So, leave us a comment below this video. But I can also imagine that you think, oh, where can I find Jessica? Because I feel really drawn to her energy, drawn to her story, and I'd like to connect or maybe even work with her. So, where can people find you?
I am everywhere. I have I on social media, everything is under Jess Verrill. It's Verrill. And I have a website under that as well, which is more my intuitive advisory and energetics, my coaching component, as well as for the more creative side. I have a publishing house that I work with that is House of Indigo as well that I founded. So between the two of those, but I'm truly on every pretty much every social media platform.
I love it. So if this went too fast or if you didn't catch it, no worries. I will make sure that her name, her links, everything she wants to share are included in the show notes, probably below the video, in the video description. Could also be to the side, kind of depends on where you're catching this, but it will definitely be there. So reach out to Jess if you feel drawn. Reach out to me as well if you feel drawn. My links are also in there, and I'm also everywhere. So that is very easy. And for today, yes, I just thank you. This has been an amazing talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara. It's beautiful to be here, and I hope that there's something that came through for people who are listening that maybe helps them shift a little bit or know that they're not alone or that things are going to be okay. Because while I make light of it and while people are like, oh, it's just so easy, just change your perception, it's not easy. And I understand that. And even having been on this path and working with energetics for over 20 years, like I still can get very knocked off when there's a major thing in my life. So it's honoring that and moving forward and finding support if you need it. Yeah.
I love that, and I wholeheartedly agree. In the same boat with the same experiences. And yes, you are not alone. There are more people like you. So reach out if you feel cold. And for the remainder of today, I wish you an amazing rest of your day, no matter what you're going through. And I hope that life smiles upon you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to inspiring you with another beautiful guest in next week's episode. Bye for now.